You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day. Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Bro Down Podcast. I'm Tim Fulton.
I'm Andy Smith.
And this is What Do You Got?
What do you have?
A drunken 3 a.m. conversation with your friends over nothing in podcast form.
Except we're not drunk, and it's way earlier than 3 a.m. because we're old.
The analogy still holds true. So on What Do You Got, we each come up with a topic to bring to the table, and it is my turn.
And you've been giddy about this all fucking day, so what is it?
What is willpower?
Look it up.
And I'm not just looking for a Merriam-Webster definition of what is willpower.
Okay.
I want to go a little bit deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I want your initial take, your gut instinct. What is willpower?
What is willpower? And we're just talking in a very general sense, nothing specific to anything.
No, it could relate to anything. It can relate to training. It can relate to accomplishing tasks. It could relate to weight loss. It could relate to whatever your day-to-day life.
Willpower, to me, in a lot of ways, is it. When I first think of it, it's the ability to do things that you do not want to do.
Yeah.
In order to do something that you know is good for you. Or at least that's how I generally associate with willpower. But it's getting out of bed in the morning when you don't want to. It's going to bed early when you don't want to. It's reading the rest of your fucking chapter in your book for school when you really don't fucking want to. It's shit that you fucking loathe doing. Now, some people like doing that shit, which doesn't require willpower.
Yeah, because that's just enjoyment.
Something like reading a book might be very easy or enjoyable for somebody else, whereas for somebody same age and everything, it might be total torture for them to do that.
Or even,
one requires willpower, the other one doesn't.
Or even on different scales, some people might only casually dislike reading from a textbook, and some people may loathe it. So both require willpower, but to a different degree.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, my initial thought would be that. And not only that, over a long term, I think that when it comes to things like that you don't enjoy doing, I think an even next step of willpower would be to find a way to either trick your mind or change your mind into not only being able to do those things, but to enjoy those things.
I'm actually super glad you came up with that yourself, because I was looking into willpower a little bit myself, just for curiosity's sake. Recently, I've had a lot going on. Just bought a house. We're doing this podcast. Work has been amping up, workload a lot. And I noticed that when a lot's going on, it one of two things happen. Either you rise to the occasion and you just start knocking things out of the park, or everything feels like it's collapsing.
Yeah.
And when that starts to happen, it almost feels like, why do I have no willpower? Why can't I accomplish these tasks? All it requires is me to put my mind where it needs to be, and you'll be able to do this, right? So in looking at willpower online, I found a kind of a good description that satisfied me a little bit, because everyone sees willpower as like this stone, this like imaginary force that exists in you, right? But it's like the set thing. You either have it, you don't have it, you have a lot of it, whatever.
I think that's bullshit.
I agree.
Excuse me.
I have come to look at it as a depletable resource. Almost like, if you want to nerd out with me for a second, you know, in some video games, like your character will have like
mana.
Yes. You have like a little mana bar.
It's usually the blue bar for those non-video game players.
Sometimes
the red bar is usually health. The blue bar is usually mana or magic. So, go ahead. Magic.
So your magic inside of you can, you use it up throughout the day, right?
Yeah.
And it goes from like big things to like small things. Like you have a coworker who has a candy dish. You know, you're supposed to not be eating candy. So you pass by it and you say, I'm not going to have that. All right, it wasn't a big deal, but it did require a little bit of willpower. You fought off this desire to do whatever. So throughout the course of a day, it kind of like fades a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. And they actually say that that's why at the end of the day, people are more likely, this is a general example, are more likely to cheat when it comes to food because they've used up their will. They don't have that to rely on anymore. So it's harder for them to say no because they don't have that resource in them anymore.
I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I think part of that has to do with they're at home, they don't have nothing to fucking do because they don't have any hobbies, they're sitting around and they don't have an audience.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, right?
Yeah, it's easy for people to turn down the pizza and the donuts when there's 10 people in the room. Oh, no, thank you. I'm trying to watch my figure. And then they get home and they're, choking on the spoon because they can't scoop it out of the ice cream thing fast enough.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, everyone has. Who are we kidding? But go ahead.
So my new mentality is to not rely on willpower to accomplish goals. And I think people make this mistake that that was the other thing I found out. There was a study back in, I want to say 2012.
Okay.
Don't ask me for the source. But they asked people, what is your biggest reason for failure? And a large majority, I think it was like 22%, it won out by like a landslide, is that I don't have the willpower to do it. Well, you do have willpower, but just not, your willpower in and of itself is not going to sustain you throughout an entire task because it is a depletable resource.
I don't know. I see what you're saying with the depletable resource. I think that might be it's a good analogy, but I think it might be a negative way to look at it.
Which is a problem in and of itself.
Yes. I think that some people, they don't like the fact that they have to accept that things are going to be hard.
Yeah.
So they like to use things like, you're stubborn or you're this. Like, I'm not as stubborn as you. Like, they put a negative connotation on it because it's like, well, I don't want to be that. It's like, well, stubborn is a kind of another form of willpower depending on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And everyone always thinks that you have to go from, because everyone always looks at like the most famous of the most famous for motivation, which is great. But those people didn't become that overnight. They had to build to that. So they look at that like, well, if I got to do what he does, but if they can't do it in a day, they're like, I don't have the willpower to do it.
Yeah. Not everyone's going to be the Rock overnight.
Yeah, and I think the willpower and all that, I think there's a couple things that you have to do before you grow that with yourself. Number one, you have to be very, very honest with what you're doing and the amount of output that you're actually putting into it. You can't say that you're trying if you're not trying. You have to be honest with yourself. You can't do that. And number two is just start small. Everyone always tries to do this giant goal and they try to go all out on the diet the first day, which some people can do. But then they crack and it's like, well, I couldn't climb Everest the first time I tried to do it, so I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, that sense of failure really weighs on people.
Yeah.
Even when it's something like,
people watch fucking Rocky too many times and they think that they can just all of a sudden pick up something and do it real quick.
Spoiler alert, folks, Rocky lost.
Yeah, Rocky lost. Fucking learn. So, yeah, but it's also, I think a lot of people too, I don't know what it is, but when someone is telling me they're going to do something, and it's usually specific to like a diet or working out or something that I'm kind of familiar with, have been around a long time. Yeah. I would say 90% of the time, 95, 98% of the time, I can guess whether they're going to snap within the first 2 weeks by how they're talking about it and what their plan is, because it's just unrealistic. It's like they don't try to plan it out. They don't have a good understanding of what they're doing, and they're just setting themselves up for failure.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things. Once someone feels that sense of failure once, it's just hard to shake it, and like it just feels like it. Like you've said this before with going to the gym. I know we use working out and
it's a good analogy.
It is,
and a lot of people can relate to it.
It's a very solid analogy.
Yeah.
But like, don't miss the gym more than 2 days in a row, right? Because then you form a bad habit of not going. But when you start missing and for that reason, if you miss the gym more than 2 or 3 times, all of a sudden you feel like, I've just wasted my time. I have to start all over again.
Yeah.
And it's that sense of like I failed.
Well, there's good guidelines to have. Like if you go to, but like if you miss the gym more than 2 days in a row or 3 days in a row, it's very hard to drag your ass back there.
Yeah.
But people take that as like, well, then so if I do miss it that many times in a row, it's okay to quit now because I fucked up the rule, and people have this really keen ability to give up when they think that they've lost something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, you know, I cheated for this and I wasn't supposed to cheat, so what's the point now? People have a hard time just being like, all right, that happened. Fuck all that.
Yeah.
I don't care about all that. What am I going to do now? What am I going to do today to keep going?
Well, going back to willpower a little bit, I think that's part of the problem. That sense of failure is one of the things that crushes your natural ability to want to achieve. You lose that sense of will. So one of the ways I like to think that people should avoid that, in a sense, is you have to. So I keep saying, willpower is a depletable resource, but there is a good side to it, is that it's replenishable too. It comes back over time through motivation and other things and whatnot, but you have the ability to reinvigorate yourself.
Yeah.
I think one thing that people should really start to focus on is, one, like you said, start small, because that way the little steps feel easier and feel more accomplishable.
Excuse me.
You're excused.
Yeah.
Two, people, just as much as failure makes you want to give up, achievement makes you, any form of success makes you feel better about yourself. And it could be something stupid. So like when you're doing something small or something big, something for the first time, say you're learning something new and you're not getting it and you're failing, and it crushes you. Take a minute, take 15 minutes, whatever it takes, do something you know you can achieve. And even if it's something stupid, wash some fucking dishes. Relish in that fact for a minute. Be like, I achieved something. I'm an accomplished person. I put my mind to something. It worked. Let yourself just feel that little bit of like reinvigoration, and then you can drive yourself.
Yeah, you got to get the momentum going.
Yeah,
momentum's a big thing, but I think that people should make a list of like things that they don't like, things that they wish they could change, all that stuff, and pick one. Yeah. Pick one and just make sure that if one of your goals is like, I really, really, really want to wake up earlier. I don't wake up early enough to go to the gym or whatever. Start doing whatever it takes to wake up early and go to the gym until that is no longer a challenge. It's your routine. And once it becomes a routine, you don't have to think about it anymore because you're just going to do it.
Yes.
And everyone always looks at everything on the list at once. And before you know it, if you just pick things off that list, and some are going to be harder than others, but if you pick things off that list and they become something that you don't even have to think about anymore, like I'm not going to allow myself to drink during the week, or I am going to make sure that I wake up and go to the gym 3 days a week during the week. And once that becomes routine, you go to the next thing. And that way your list of things that are unacceptable from yourself gets shorter and shorter because you've chewed these things off your list of behaviors that you don't like about yourself that you've gotten rid of.
Yeah.
And that's one of the worst things, is having this list of things that you don't like about yourself and doing nothing about it. Because the more that days go by, you're like, oh, there's another day I didn't change that. There's another day I didn't do this. There's another day I didn't go to the gym.
And you just end up loathing yourself.
Yeah. There's very few things that get me more fired up than somebody complaining about shit that is very, very doable and achievable and just making excuses not to fucking do it. Because it scares the shit out of me that that's an option.
Yeah.
That's possible, that you're just going to be like, well, fuck it. I'll just give up now. But after 4 days of trying, like, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like,
it'll be a little nicer.
Well, no, it's not fuck off, but like fuck off to that part of your brain that's telling you, no. Who gives a shit if you're not good at it? Who the fuck is excellent at anything, let alone the first time you try something? I don't like that. Like, I have that. Like, we had that poll the other day about if you rather like winning or do you hate losing? Most people put hate losing on there, but That's good and bad because people hate losing so much that they're afraid to try new things, to change it because they're afraid they're going to fail at it.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Screw it. Just do it anyway.
Just do it
Who
anyway.
cares? Who cares? You know what I mean?
This is coming from two guys who make dinosaur T-shirts and started a podcast
Yes,
about nothing.
but there is something to be said about being able to motivate yourself to do shit that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
I know that I can motivate myself to do shit that I don't want to do. And I'm pretty good at getting other people to do it if I get you in a room long enough and you're not allowed to leave. So
that's kind of what happened to you.
Exactly.
Guess who did not want to be a co-host on a podcast?
Yeah.
This guy.
Funny story.
Fun story.
Yeah, no, I don't like hearing those things like, oh, you can't do this. Now, there's obviously some things that you just can't do. You can't fly. You know, you can't do stupid shit like that. But achievable shit like losing weight or, you know, becoming healthier, eating healthier, or, you know, waking up earlier, going on more hikes, or anything. I'm using all physical type of stuff. Yeah. But anything like that, there's no reason why you can't do it. And everyone has problems. Everyone has hurdles that you don't see. One of the biggest things that people do to make excuses for themselves, and they say, yeah, well, it'd be nice if I had days off like so-and-so, or it'd be nice if I was, you know, in so-and-so's shape because it's easy for them because they've always been in shape. Well, did they get like that by just being born, or did they work at it? Like, there's so many excuses that people can give to themselves to talk themselves out of doing hard shit. Okay? Stop it.
You hear that, folks?
I'm getting. I just.
Yeah, I think I touched it. I told you were gonna like this one.
Yeah.
So going back to what you said, start with little tasks. This reminds me of another YouTuber, CGP Gray. Shout out to him.
Oh shit. Okay, go ahead.
He does a bunch of things.
Okay.
One of the videos he has is called "The 7 Ways to Maximize Misery." And the whole point of it, obviously, is not to maximize misery. The whole point of it is to look at things that will maximize misery and see yourself in them to know what to avoid.
Yeah.
One of the things he suggests is to make completely unrealistic goals. Make things that you will never, ever, ever be able to achieve, because then you will assure yourself that you're going to fail, and there you go. Then you're going to be stuck. Yeah. Right? You're not going to want to even attempt it anymore, which is kind of going back to what you said, like do small shit. And the analogy he gives was, instead of saying, all right, I'm going to go do this load of laundry, make something bigger. Say, I'm going to go clean the house. Well, that's impossible. You're not going to clean an entire house. There's always something else that needs to be done. So if you say, I'm going to clean the house today, I'm going to clean the entire house today, it's impossible. Because there's always something else. And you're going to leave yourself at the end of the day saying, I failed. I did not clean the house. I failed.
Yeah.
So start with smaller goals.
That works both ways, though, because some people, like, I'm a big believer as far as something that worked for me.
Okay.
Is if you're trying to do something for the first time and you don't really know how to do it, start making lists.
Okay.
A list to me is a physical affirmation of I did this today. I can see on paper a list of things that I said I wanted to do, and I did them.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I don't like is seeing a long list of X's and then something that isn't X'd out. So it's like, all right, I did everything I wanted to do, but I still got to X that last one out. But there is that thing where if you have to set goals, like for me, if I tended to always put more things on the list than I needed to, just because I wanted to get as many things done as possible.
Because you like that little push.
Yes. But at the same time, you have to kind of be honest with yourself and be like, what's realistic to get done for my output today? Yeah. And maybe put a couple more things on that. But it's different for everybody. Everybody's motivated by different things. I know that, like, when shit gets hard for you,
I collapse as a human being.
Yeah. Well, some people do. But like in the gym or whatever, when you pull on motivation, what do you pull on? Do you pull on negative thoughts or positive thoughts?
To actually get me through?
Like, if you're trying to do something and it's getting hard, like if you're at the gym and you're just not feeling it then. You're just not feeling it. You're not fucking... Just not in the mood. You're just not in the mood. You know, blood's not pumping, no adrenaline going. You feel like shit. You don't want to be there. There's nothing really wrong. You don't have an injury, but you're just not feeling it. what do you do for yourself to pull that motivation out?
I need something positive to pull me through. I'm not one of those people who can work off of negative emotions and have that like propel me forward. I need something like, no, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. Like, I need, whether it's a little voice in the back of my head or a motivational song, like, if I'm having a bad day at the gym, pump some Britney Spears. Like, shut up.
We are so different.
We are such different people. No, but seriously, get me something that will get me back in the right headspace. For me, mentality is everything. If I'm in a bad mentality, I'm not going to be able to propel myself forward. But I know that about myself. So like, if I catch myself there, the solution to me is to fix the mentality and to know what's going to do that. Like, I have to know that I can put my head back on straight. And that is something I've worked on over time. Like, I slowly have gathered, all right, what sets me off? What puts me down? How do I get myself back? Do I just wait?
See, the positive thing works once in a while for me if I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
For me, it's take away my food. And I mean that like literally and metaphorically. Like, one of the things I will do if I'm at work and I'm not feeling it and I have to go to train is I will not eat on purpose.
I'm not trying to laugh at you because I know it works for you.
No,
continue.
It does, because I like pulling. Not that I like, but it works for me. When I am in the gym, it's like, oh, I'm not feeling it today, not feeling it today, not feeling it today. I have to go to a negative place to get to a positive place.
Okay.
So I have to go to this place of like, well, what would happen if, you were training for something now and you were taking fucking days off and the other person's not taking days off? Or what would happen if you just you're just going to let this happen every time you have a bad day? You're just going to take a day off. You're just going to put a half-ass workout in, or you're just going to do a half-ass job. And I have to go to a negative place. And one of the easiest ways for me to do that is to think about bad times.
Ooh.
So it's basically like I think about that bad time. I relish in the bad time. I go, do we want to go back there? Do we want to go back there? Because this is how you go back there, is by allowing stupid shit to alter what your day is going to be.
Wow.
And then I get that out in the gym. I get that negative poison and I bleed it out in there. And that way I don't carry it back with me. So I look at that as an opportunity to kind of drain that out of my body. That all that negative shit that I might be holding on to, because that to me is one of the only uses for it, is to get something accomplished with it. Use it as rocket fuel when you're you don't have anything left. And the hungry thing is just because when you have 1,000 things on your mind, but you're hungry, you're only thinking about food, right? Yeah. It doesn't really matter. If enough time goes by, all you're going to think about is food. You're not going to think about your bills or anything like that. So if I'm feeling like I don't have it today or whatever, and I'm going home from work and I'm like, oh, I need to go to the gym later, I purposely will stop eating early so that I'm hungry when I go to the gym. So the only thing I'm worried about is I have to work out hard enough so that I can eat. And then that's it, because it makes me want to go more because I have that tunnel vision focus because I'm hungry. I'm starving.
So I know we were joking about it a minute ago, but it is actually kind of interesting how our mentalities are so different.
Yeah.
Like, I would just never be able to work off of that negative energy. I just get in my head too much. It just wouldn't be possible for me.
Yeah.
I beat myself up.
I'm good at using that as an output. I'm good at turning that into a, like, not like, whoa, well, I can't be here right now. I gotta go home. Like, if I'm in a bad mood, put me in the gym and leave me alone. I'll work it out of myself, because it's always been my outlet to get negative shit out. It's always been that.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Good topic. We went down some weird roads there.
We did go down some weird roads. Why don't you guys tell us in the comments down below, if you're on YouTube, what you think about willpower and all the other subjects that we touched upon tonight. For our live viewers, stay tuned. We have one more What Do You Got coming up.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day.